When you think of animation, you probably don't think about Pakistan. Today, I'm incredibly excited to be joined by Usman Riaz, the visionary director behind The Glassworker, Pakistan's first fully hand-drawn animated film. Usman, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. I just wanted to say thank you not only for making this film and for being here, but obviously just making this film because as a Pakistani, I understand that we're not usually known for our culture, especially not our movies. But when I heard about The Glassworker, I was just so intrigued, and I absolutely loved the movie when I actually got the chance to watch it. The Glassworker is, I'd say, a groundbreaking movie that has not only captivated audiences worldwide, but is also on its way to the Oscars, I believe. And I've heard some call it the best animated movie ever from research. So, Usman, your journey is nothing short of inspirational, and I really want to delve into the story behind the film and your passion for animation and what the future holds for Pakistan's film and animation industry. So, let's get started with your journey. How did your journey into animation and directing begin? Did you always want to direct The Glassworker, and what inspired you to eventually create this film?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for just having me here, and thank you for your kind words. It really means a lot to me. My journey began, I would say, when I was a child. I grew up obsessing over animation. And when you're a child, you don't think about any of the logistics around it or anything else. You just enjoy the medium for what it is. And for me, because I was drawing, I've been drawing ever since I could hold a pencil. So the idea that watching your drawings move or seeing drawings that are moving was fascinating for me. And again, I didn't really think I'm going to grow up and make an animated film. I just loved it, and I would pause movies and understand how the drawings work together.
Mhm.
And I also loved the music from these films. I grew up watching the Disney movies. I would say the films that Walt Disney himself directed, those are absolutely incredible. Pinocchio was a big inspiration for The Glassworker as well. And then as I got a little older, like I would say 8 or 9 years old, I discovered Hayao Miyazaki's films and Studio Ghibli's films. And again, you're not really thinking about who made these movies or where they come from. I just watched it and fell in love with it. So I would say my animation journey began there. And yeah, 2 decades later, I made this film.
Awesome. Yeah. Going into animation and Studio Ghibli, I know when you presented the film to us, you talked about Studio Ghibli and Disney. One thing I noticed about The Glassworker is that this is all hand drawn and it's not 3D
Yeah.
digital animation like a lot of films, like a lot of Disney, Pixar films are today. And as you said, it's only really seen with Studio Ghibli today. So why did you choose this traditional approach, and what challenges did you face during the process when you were making this film?
The challenges were immense. The reason I picked this medium, it's a very simple answer. I love this craft more than anything. And it's a childhood obsession and fascination with drawing and then drawing in a certain way to actually get that movement and fluidity in the animation. So I was always very, very captivated by that. The challenges were we built a studio from scratch to make this movie in Pakistan. Pakistan has little to no film infrastructure. There are a number of auteur directors doing incredible work, but there's no real industry as such for film. There's more of a TV industry, and those people transition from television to movies. But I guess that with there being such little infrastructure anyway for film, animation is a long shot. So the challenge was actually building the studio from scratch, training people how to do animation, while also learning myself and improving my skills. Because it's one thing doing it as a hobby alone in your room, and it's another thing to work with a bunch of other artists and professionals to actually make a feature film. The challenges were immense. They were
Mhm.
immense, but thankfully we were able to overcome them and make the movie.
Mhm. Okay. Awesome. So, yeah, basically, I can assume that it would take you a long time to animate an animated film. I believe you said that it took you almost 10 years, 6 years, I believe, to animate this film. So, what kept on motivating you to? Because 10 years is such a long time. So, what
Hmm.
kept on motivating you, and as you were making this film, and or were there ever times where you just wanted to quit making this film?
The entire journey from the time I made my first sketch and wrote a few of the music pieces for the film till the finished film itself was 10 years. I started when I was 23. I'm 33 now. So it was a very long journey. And I mean, it's not something that I would ever want to do again, the way we made this film. But like I said many, many times, I got to work with a remarkable team in Pakistan and a remarkable team internationally to bring this project to life. And I got to work with so many gifted and talented people that I'm all the more experienced and enriched by it. So whenever I do embark on the next project or whatever I want to do next, I will take all of those experiences and things that I've learned from and try to do it even better.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry, while I was explaining all of this, I forgot the question. So could you repeat that one more time?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The question was, what motivated you to actually make this
Yeah,
film?
the motivation.
Yeah.
Again, it stems to what I said earlier, which is this was a childhood dream of mine. I never imagined I would get to make a movie like this. It's not something you think about as a child. It's not something you aspire towards. Um, I just loved the medium, and when I got this opportunity, I wasn't going to take it for granted. And even in the days where it was extremely difficult, I still kept pushing forward because I love the craft and I storyboarded the entire film. I planned every shot extremely meticulously. Like I said, I got to work with a wonderful group of people who loved animation as much as I did. And yeah, the motivation came from not letting my childhood self down. That I got the chance to do something like this. I have to keep pushing. And when you're in situations like that, giving up isn't an option. So I never entertained the possibility that I don't want to do this anymore. I certainly felt like it when I was extremely tired, but I never sat there and said, "This is enough. I don't want to do this. I want to go back to what I was doing before, which was music and all those other things." No, that thought never crossed my mind. But it was a matter of, I think I would say, 7 or 8 years down the line
Hmm.
in the production. That's when I really began questioning just how long is this going to take. So there were moments where I was like, is this never going to end? What have I done? I've bitten off more than I could chew. But you take it day by day and you slowly chip away at the mountain.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when I watched the film, like all your hard work and all the motivation that not just you, but also every other animator and creator behind this film, I could obviously see all the hard work and dedication you put into this film. So, congratulations on that. I
Thank you.
assume that it's kind of expensive to first off, direct a movie and actually make a movie. But in Pakistan, it's probably a lot more expensive because, as you said, Pakistan doesn't have the infrastructure for films, especially animated films. So, how did you go about funding this movie? I believe you mentioned you sold your grandfather's house or something like that. Was that any part of it, or?
Yeah, of course. As I said, because there's a lack of film infrastructure in Pakistan, there's also a lack of financing, and government financing is out of the question. So this entire project was privately financed. It was financed by my family and an investor that we had in California, a family friend who really believed in the work that I was doing and the work the studio was doing. And everyone took a big risk, and my mother was one of the investors. My mother sold my grandfather's house, which is her father's house, when he passed away, to support the project. And yeah, so many people. I'm just so grateful for all the sacrifices everybody made to put me in a position to be able to make this film. And of course, I have everybody to thank, but especially God for allowing me to make this. So it was extremely challenging, but nobody cares about the the challenges that were faced if the movie isn't good. So I'm grateful that we made a movie that is worthy of people's attention and worthy of everybody's time and effort and all the sacrifices. I think that was the most important thing to me. That so many people have given up so much to do this. It has to be good. I have to try to make it as good as I can. And if I work my hardest, I can step back and say, I gave it my best. And that's all that really matters.
Hmm. I think that's a mindset that every director and every filmmaker should have. Like I was reading up on the new Superman movie by James Gunn, and he said that because this is like the new DCU, he put a lot of pressure on himself to actually create this movie. And there were some days when he was just down because he really wanted to make a good movie. So I completely understand that. So once you actually got the studio running and actually got people who were interested in making the film, what was the process like of actually creating the studio and teaching these people how to actually animate.
Well, the process of making the studio was interesting. So, Mariam, my wife and the art director on the project, she's the co founder of the studio. And my cousin Khizr is a partner at the studio and the producer of the film. And the three of us were kind of I would say, the brain trust behind the decisions that needed to be made, along with I would say, our two main investors.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was built to be able to make this movie. That was something that I was very, very clear on early on, that I want to make this studio to make this movie. And there were many opportunities where we could have done other work or outsourcing projects and other things, but I had to maintain a very strong vision that this is what we are setting out to do, and we cannot have any distractions. So that was one thing I made very clear early on. In terms of the entire production pipeline and things that happen at the studio while we worked, we have our wonderful producer Khizr to thank for that, and the remarkable team members who we worked with, our animation director, our character designer, our animation supervisor and lead animators. Everybody, again, was working on a project like this for the first time. So we kind of had to reverse engineer a lot of techniques. And just in terms of the painting, as I mentioned, Mariam is art director on the project. The entire pipeline for how the backgrounds were made, Mariam collaborated with her entire team. But really, our department heads for art direction, or character design, or animation, everybody had to kind of figure it out. And my understanding of animation, of course, is very strong, and I animated a lot of shots on the film. But I was storyboarding while people were actually working on the movie. So we were doing our pre-production and our production side by side. I would keep drawing the shots and then handing them over to, say, the production board artists, who would then take them and refine them and prepare them for animation. So it was a frantic race to try and get everything done. Once I was done with the storyboards, I jumped straight into the animation or art direction, whatever anybody needed any help in. And in terms of the training, our I would say our best animators came together and came up with a training program for other animators to come in, or other aspiring animators to come in and learn the craft of animation quick enough where they could work on the movie. With the background art, Mariam established, I would say, a regimen as well for people to come in and understand the style. And then again, our brilliant team worked with a lot of people to be able to achieve the vision that I was setting out to achieve. And I would oversee the entire process
Hmm.
in terms of the aesthetics, in terms of what was going on. I would do multiple reviews every day after everybody did their own reviews to and present me the work. So it was a very hectic, amazing, and stressful time,
Hmm.
because there was no end in sight. We didn't know how long it would take to make the movie. Of course, we had a plan. Our producer wouldn't have let us move forward without a plan, but it was every day was a struggle to try and figure out how we can adhere to that plan and keep moving forward. So it was an interesting process, and one that now, with the experience that I have having made a film, I would love to do it again, inshallah, one day, and do it better.
Awesome. Yeah. As you said, it's probably a very hectic process, but as I said before, you put a lot of hard work and dedication into
Thank
making the
you.
film, so it was all worth it in the end. But
Thank you very
um,
much.
you were the director, the writer, composer, and one of the artists for the film, which absolutely blew my mind because I'm like, how was he able to juggle all of these roles at the same time? So, could you tell me a little bit about that and how you were able to like do all these things while also managing this entirely new production company?
I think, I mean, it sounds impressive, sure, but at the end of the day, I wasn't doing anything different from what I normally do. I've been drawing since I was a child and playing music since I was a child and making up stories and playing all my kind of imaginary scenarios out as a kid. The movie was just that in a more professional setting. I would always draw my own characters, I would always draw my own little comic books or do animation things. And this was just a more organized way of doing it. Like I said, drew the entire film in storyboard form out as well, because I could just see it and then I could hear the music while I was drawing it. Excuse me. So it wasn't out of the ordinary for me. I just enjoyed this so much. I was able to immerse myself in the world of this film and kind of figure out everything that needed to be done. I was very clear in the vision for it. I drew every shot very meticulously so that every single person knew exactly what I wanted and they could just add to the project or a specific shot or other things. Um, I don't know. You said it blew your mind, but there are many, many things I cannot do. I guess in just this little playground of animation and music and drawing, those are the things I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
So that I can do. But if you ask me about like something else, of course I wouldn't be able to do it. So you've just seen the things I can do, and I'm very grateful that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think what just surprised me is because I have a lot of knowledge about movies and I know the process and how hard it is to actually get a movie made. So when I heard that you were composing it, like I can understand someone directing it or writing it, but also composing it and also animating it. That was something that really just surprised me. But just a personal question that I have because I'm not really an anime kind of person, like not really all about Studio Ghibli and stuff like that. But I'm curious to know how exactly does how do you direct an animated movie because you're not with the actors, you're not on a set, you're not with the camera. So how does that work?
Well, the way I did it is, as I've said uh, throughout our conversation, I focused on the storyboards. I think that was the most important part for me because I could focus on the character design, I could focus on the keyframes for the animation, apart from the framing and composition and other things of the shot. But if I had a solid storyboard and I knew exactly what is going to be happening in that entire scene or in that entire, I would say, act of the film moving forward, it just made it very, very clear. And yeah, there are no actors to interact with. There are no multiple takes that you can get, and then you sit with the editor and are like, "Oh, I like how these three takes fit together with this other footage, etc." We didn't have that luxury. The film is literally exactly what I drew. The only luxury we had is we could shorten shots or we could remove shots altogether to get a smoother edit. But you cannot, I would say, add shots. That requires a lot of work, which we had to do a few times. Thankfully, not too many times, but we had to do that. Animation is very tricky that way. You have to be incredibly thorough in your planning.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I enjoy that process very much. So I was able to be extremely thorough in the planning.
Hmm.
I understood literally every single shot. I understood the technicalities behind it because I drew it. I knew exactly what I wanted to happen in the shot, and it just became a matter of conveying enough of that to the people who I was working with to be able to achieve that at the end of the day. But yeah, it requires a lot of technical knowledge. Working in live action certainly helps if you have an understanding of cameras and camera lenses, and then you can bring that understanding into animation in terms of what bloom you want or what bokeh you want, things like that. Camera movement, trying to create that parallax in animation because camera movement, you have to convey depth in the frame. How do you do that in a 2D plane? So you can use the separate background elements to your advantage and move them at separate speeds to be able to convey that sense of depth. And those things certainly help when you have a thorough understanding of the physics behind that. And I thankfully had that understanding, so I was able to effectively draw it all out.
Yeah, I could see that with the film. Like when I was watching it, every shot was consistent. All the characters looked the same. Like in one shot, one kid didn't have a beard, and then he didn't have the beard in another. He was always just like beardless. But now that the Glassworker is out and the movie is complete and people have begun to watch it, it's been met with incredible acclaim and is even being considered for the Oscars. And I know that you're currently working for that right now. What does this recognition mean to you, and how do you think it will impact the future of animation in Pakistan?
So this recognition is surreal because never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that our small little animated movie from Pakistan would have this sort of impact on people. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and thank God every day. I'm grateful for everybody who I got to work with to be able to achieve this.
Hmm.
Something's wrong with my camera. It's constantly
Yes, thank
zooming.
you.
One second. Oh,
Thank you.
there we go. It
Yes,
stopped.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm incredibly grateful. And I hope that what this does is that it shows people that, as difficult as it is to pursue your dreams, it's worth it in the end. And not because of the validation that you get from people, but because the journey that you go on, you meet so many amazing people, you understand so much about yourself. It was really an adventure at the end of the day. And I'm very, very grateful. And I would say if we get even more recognition, I mean, it's incredibly difficult to get nominated for the Oscars, but I'm just happy to be part of the conversation and be one of the better films that came out in 2024 that people are talking about and wanting to see. We're an independent animated film, so we don't have a huge studio behind us. All the journalists that I talked to in Hollywood when we were discussing the Oscar campaign and other things, I said I'm not even the underdog in this race. I'm the flea that lives on the underdog. But that flea is just happy to be here, and I'm trying to soak up everything that I can, enjoy the moment, learn from everything, and like I said, do it even better next time.
Hmm. Well, I'm sure that once the Glassworker wins its Oscar, it will get a lot more recognition, and then Mono Animation can.
Honestly, that would be a miracle, but I never discount that because it that's the nature of miracles. They are miraculous. So if that happens, again, just much more, even more gratitude.
Mhm.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah. So looking ahead, is Mono Animation currently working on any new projects? Can you share any ideas for any upcoming film or ventures that you have?
So we worked on a few outsourcing projects, and I'm very grateful for that as well because we learned a lot. We worked with the European animation studio and did their in between cleanup and color for a beautiful film called Valamon, the Polar Bear Prince,
Hmm.
which I think is coming out this year. So that's exciting. In terms of the next project, uh, like I said, it's a miracle making one movie. So if I'm ever in the position where I get to make another one, if I'm blessed with that miracle again, then I will savor it even more and try to do everything even better. I have a few ideas that I'm exploring. I have image boards and a treatment. Let's see what happens. Whenever I think about the next project, my mind says no, but my heart says yes. I'm just waiting for my mind and my heart to be realigned before I take another leap of faith like that.
Hmm. Is Mono Anime? Sorry, I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words, but is Mono Animation open up? Sorry, I don't know why I'm stumbling. Anyway, is Mono Animation open to collaborating with other studios or organizations, or or maybe even individuals who are interested in actually making a movie, but they just haven't got it the chance yet?
See, I'm open to working with anybody, but making a movie is a huge challenge, especially if you're doing it independently. Uh, it's not just oh, I want to make a movie, and then you find the right people, and you work on that movie. It's a lot of work. It's
Hmm.
like, especially if you're doing it independently. So a lot of people have approached me saying they want to make a movie, and then that passion sort of fizzles out when they see how much work it is. So I would say yes, absolutely, provided that I get to work with the right individuals, the ones who are ready for the challenge. And to be quite honest and quite frank, like I said earlier, my even I'm not ready to go on that challenge again. It's a huge, huge, difficult journey that you're about to go on if you're making a film independently, and obviously making a big production with big studios. I've never done that, but I'm sure that has its own set of challenges. But independent filmmaking and independent animation is extremely difficult. So I would say, forever whoever wants to embark on this journey, I wish someone had told me how long and difficult it would be. So I will tell them that never give up. Just be ready to take on that challenge because you will be tested.
Hmm. Well, you've really inspired me, and your journey has really inspired me. Do you have any other advice that you would give to any aspiring animators or filmmakers, or just people who just want to work in this industry? Do you have any advice for them?
No one is going to come rescue you. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give. Do not wait for someone to come and pluck you out of obscurity and save you from production issues and problems that you're having. You have to really uh, dig deep and overcome those setbacks yourself and keep moving forward. Never listen to the negativity around you. If someone says it can't be done, let them say it. Nothing's changed in terms of your commitment and your desire to get it done. It's just a person or a few people saying that it's not possible. Never get hung up on that. Always stay true to your heart and what you believe in. I can say this because I experienced it for almost 10 years, where it was just you have to be delusional to a point where you believe it can get done, and then you work so hard that it actually becomes a reality. So that's the piece of advice I would give. Don't listen to what other people have to say because they're not you. If you believe it's possible, just don't give up. Keep moving forward. It will take time. It will be difficult, but you will get there in the end.
I will make sure to remember that. Well, thank you so much, Usman. This is all we have for today, but thank you for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us. The Glassworker is a great movie, and we're excited to see what you and Mono Animation have in store for the future. And for the people who are watching this, don't forget to watch The Glassworker if you haven't already, and also help get the film to the Oscars. And make sure to stay tuned for more inspiring interviews on this channel. So, once again, thank you, Usman, and I'm excited to see where this leads.
Thank you so much, Aiden. Thank you for having me.